As mentioned in the previous lecture, marketing has its starting point in the consumers, their needs and behavior. This lecture 5.2 will focus on the consumer approach. You should get to know about different consumer aspects when working with CSR. Knowing your consumer is essential. This goes with marketing in general, all business, and certainly also in working with CSR. In reality, it's proven difficult to isolate the so-called green consumer and give them some generic characteristics. The green consumer is actually many different groups. So you might want to start with, in your particular business, to focus on, can we talk about a green consumer group? Or is it not really a group you can define as such? Some would also claim that you should not focus on the already green consumer, because they already get the point about sustainability. So they would be aware of the products you present to them that are sustainable or are CSR marked. Focus on the consumer needs in order to get in contact with the relevant segment. So that would be an input there. First and foremost, no matter what, get to know your consumer as much as possible. Apart from researching your consumer and markets, you can also involve your consumers in your development. It can be in the development of products and services, in your processes, or the way it's communicated, or in many, many other ways. Here we'll present some hurdles to overcome in a consumer's understanding of sustainable products. It's not so easy. When it comes to the performance of sustainable products, many consumers still see green products as being inferior. They see them as something being not quite as good or not quite as optimal as the classical standard product. So that is the first hurdle. Another hurdle is price. Consumers do not want to pay much more extra for greener products. Maybe a little bit, but not too much. Also, often green products are perceived as being more expensive than non-green alternatives, and it may not be the case at all. Maybe in our whole production of our sustainable products, we've saved a lot of cost, so we can actually sell them at the same price as the conventional standard products. Personal benefits is another hurdle. Consumers will be more likely to respond to product attributes that will personally benefit them, such as it's safe or non-toxic, cost-effective, for instance, rather than just being biodegradable or fair trade or something more, a broader, bigger term. So it can be a good idea to focus on the attributes that are closely connected with the consumer themselves, the personal benefit they have. Convenience. Consumers will tolerate only minimal inconvenience in using green products. So if it's a product that's more complicated to use, or you have to do a lot of things in order for it to function optimal or whatever, it's a barrier. Finally, information. Many consumers may be interested in buying more sustainable products, but they lack the right information, or it can be very difficult to find the relevant information, or is this really sustainable or what? It's hard for me to decide on that. Finally, there's the consumer usage of product and services. The way the consumers use product and services in the after purchase has a huge impact on the social, environmental, and economic agenda. Often a lot of the energy consumption takes place when we actually use the products in our households or in our companies or wherever. I'll present an example of the usage elements here.
I'll also bring in the example of clothes. We could take this jacket I'm wearing. Basically, clothes production also goes with this jacket. The clothes industry has all the problems on the CSR agenda as you can think of. The whole material issue is the cotton is very water consuming to produce. For instance, if you use cotton, there's the use of chemicals in handling the materials, in the dyes, etc. They can actually be quite toxic. There's working conditions for the worker producing the clothes, all kinds of issues. Another issue that we may not think so much about is how we handle it when we consume it. A lot of the clothes, and also with this jacket, we use a lot of energy when we, for instance, wash or dry clean our clothes. So energy in terms of water, in terms of electricity, in terms of detergent that in many cases go back out in nature and pollute. So the way we use and handle our clothes is actually can be made more sustainable. Finally, I want to change this jacket eventually. It could also be reused.
Finally, again, marketing has the lead in the contact with the consumers. So when we focus at the end of the supply chain, when we talk marketing, we focus very much in this part of it. Then this is where we should address our focus. So all the usage, but also how we can take end-of-use products back into circulation. Basically, marketing play a key role in focusing at the end consumer and getting knowledge about this. With this, we conclude this lecture.